Hey there! Using nectar alongside a synthetic nutrient line. Part 2. I'm Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show. To you, my YouTube buddies, what's going on? Let me know in the comments and we'll talk about it after the show. Right now, let's just get into the show and talk about this thing with using nectar with your synthetic nutrients. Can you do it? Should you do it? Yes, you can. It's a good thing. We've talked about it a little bit in the previous show, but in this show, I want to get into it a little deeper. Scott talked about, some strategies for doing that in the last video, but in this one, he talks about, calcium is the basis of the nectar line, which is very valuable when you're using the line on its own, but also very valuable with a synthetic nutrient line. And he talks in depth about how you integrate calcium into your synthetic nutrient line. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think you will too. I'd like you to watch the clip, and I'll talk to you after.
For flower development and strength and size, I would definitely be pushing that Herc a little bit earlier for the second guy. The other, we get it a lot where people will do a synthetic or mineral-based feed. They'll do 3 of those in a row, and then once a week they come in with just our calcium products because they're not in their nutrition lines and the other brands. There's not a whole lot of available forms of calcium in those other than calcium nitrate or worse, calcium chloride, which is a lot of people's form of calcium they use because it's so available, but it's a chloride version of a calcium source, not a phosphate source or a bicarbonate source. And so what we're focusing on is making our forms of calcium totally available, so the days you're not feeding your NP and K, you come in on the 4th day and you give them all available forms of calcium. And many of those growers see that instant response because they've never seen calcium being brought into the plant at that rapid of a rate, and they come in and things are praying harder, they're greening up, they've got more rigidity to the foliage, and it's just because they've offered them that one form of totally available calcium. And so if I had to tell people, or if I had to recommend products to synthetic growers, I usually start with Herc, then Afro, then Circes and Tritons, because that's going to have your best calcium availability. And if you're in veg, I highly recommend the Demeters because it does blend well with your most nutritional lines, but gives them that calcium phosphate, and not in the flower developing form, but in the milk fat form. So the plants are absorbing all that calcium with no problems, and it just makes for a healthier plant going through the veg cycle before it goes into bloom.
Okay, what do you think of that? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Do you use synthetics and use nectar along with it? Let's talk. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. It's the OCGFAM show.